or if you can just chuck the record button. Thank you very much. So this is one of our What Works webinars that's part of our What Works series, sort of hearing from careers leaders sort of across our network to see, you know, what's working for them. So this one is SEND specific, and we will be hearing from 3 of the careers leaders from the local SEND schools to kind of see how they do it. I look after the SEND schools currently, and my name is Charlie, and I will hand over to Peggy first. There will be an opportunity for questions after each presentation, so if you do have any questions, just pop your hand up and we'll come to them. So Peggy, over to you.
Okay, so can I share my screen?
You should be able to.
Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Peggy Gisby. I'm the assistant head teacher, head of sixth form at Endeavour Cooperative Academy. We are a special needs provision for learners with moderate learning difficulties and complex needs, aged between 5 and 19. So our provision goes from primary all the way up to post 16. The overall aim is to offer a broad and balanced curriculum based primarily on life skills and promoting independence, but obviously aiming for all of our learners to be prepared for adulthood. Our main focus is supporting our SEND learners develop the skills, confidence and opportunities for the future, and allowing them to be exposed to different types of careers and still having those aspirations to achieve employment. So we have particularly put on our school development plan this year careers, and the primary goal is embedding careers within the curriculum. So it's woven throughout all of our key stages from primary all the way up to post 16. We include that through educational visits, asking where possible. So if we're visiting the fire station and learners are looking at for people who help us, identifying the different types of jobs that might be included within those areas or settings. We have started introducing vocational profiles this year. We had it previously for our sixth form learners, but we've now introduced it to every key stage from primary all the way up. This is because we wanted to really develop the language of careers throughout the school, to start the conversation with parents, and that was often one of the barriers that we struggled with, is really encouraging parents to be exposed to different pathways that there might be along their journey, making them aware of different routes, and also identifying their areas of interest so we can really tailor make their provision as they go through the school. Conversations with Essex County Council actually linked with funding. Having that vocational profile was really good for them to be able to identify where they allocate their funding and whether it was something that actually will be beneficial, particularly post 16. So that ties in nicely with our EHCPs and annual reviews. So every year when we go through that process, we will address the vocational profiles. We'll do that independently with learners, and we'll discuss what our findings are with parents as well, and just start developing those conversations. So we support learners in making more informed decisions post 16 and tracking their profiles from a younger age to help them as they progress through the school. One of our big focuses this year, and which was really challenging, is employer engagement and work placements. Each of our learners, particularly in the 4 years of the sixth form provision being open, our learners had strands of being YouTubers, professional footballers, and they were quite limited with what their options were because of their exposure. So we really needed to work on relationship with employers and find those transferable skills and where they might apply into the real accessible jobs that they could potentially do. So as part of that process, I attended local business meetings and started networking with local businesses and companies and we were really developing more bespoke offer of work experience. It is tailor-made to the individual, so what their area of interest. So for example, if there was a learner who has a particular interest in football, we've now got a connection through Brentwood FC where they would go along and they will be exposed to that as an area, so they can support the fixtures that might be going on, or they might work in the cafe area and have that opportunity to be able to see what a job might be like. Other relationships with Phoenix Radio, the Dogs Trust, Towngate Theatre and a Holiday Inn. And that's really those one-on-one conversations with local businesses, but also we offer the opportunities for groups to go and visit those places so more individuals can be exposed to those and what that might look like as a potential job. So more meaningful work placements that are tailored to the student needs, and hopefully gaining that real world experience and confidence in those settings. So we offer work experience at different levels, depending on the need of the individuals and where they are within the school. So as they progress into Key Stage 4, learners with more complex needs are offered group placements. So that might be tailored within their weekly timetable or curriculum. So that might include volunteering at local care homes or community gardens. It might be tackling aspects of agriculture or horticulture within school grounds. So they're developing those skills and what that might look like in terms of potential job. Then if they show increasing independence and they have the ability to potentially work on their own in a different environment, we offer internal placements, for example, in the school kitchen, primary classes or office administration, caretaking roles. So they have a slight insight to what those jobs might entail, but that's more on a one-to-one basis. If learners show that they perform really well at those levels, then we would look at external placements on either a fixed term in Key Stage 4, which is normally for potentially a week, or for in sixth form, we offer fixed term block placements or extended one-day placements, which are external. So that includes going to local nurseries. They have travel training to be able to get to and from those placements, potentially going to primary schools, shops, libraries. We currently have some of our year 14s are in the process of leaving us and potentially accessing supported internships, and they are working at Chelmsford Racecourse, the British Museum, the Dogs Trust, Galliford Try, which is a construction company, and local nurseries. So very varied in those areas, but really working on those relationships and making sure that it's tailored to meet the needs of those individuals. We also try to expose learners through small work experience visits through the Greater Essex Careers Hub and Doc2 to be able to help with the exposure. And again, they're small groups, normally between 4 and 5, that then have access to be able to see what different types of work might look like. And again, it's what they're interested in that we would focus on the selection of those. So whole school careers engagement, as it is part of our school development plan, at the start of the year, we had to host staff training because we're aware of these conversations linked to careers. And we felt that it was really important that LSAs, as well as teaching staff who are really communicating with our learners on a one-to-one basis, should have the same level of knowledge. So our training includes information related to supported internships, accessible apprenticeships, and inclusive employment, as well as your typical routes of potentially going on to other education settings, colleges, etc. We provided training on vocational profiles. What do they look like? We also tailor-made the vocational profiles for each key stage, because obviously when it's more informed at post-16, much more detail, but actually in primary, there are certain areas of interest that we're trying to identify. So they would be fit for each of those key stages. We also made a school investment in Talentino careers package on 2 different levels, which will be embedded within the school curriculum. And then as we progress through the school, we would offer employment qualifications or employability through ASDAN and BTEC qualifications as well. So we really rely on our collaboration with external agencies. the Greater Essex Careers Hub, Department for Work and Pensions, and other large companies that are willing to invest time and offer potentially STEM activities or days within our school. And we've started to embed those within primary all the way up to post 16 as well. So some of our careers days, recently we had Key Stage 3 Balfour Beatty Day, where we had an insight into engineering, and they will obviously perform small tasks that allow them to gain a concept of what engineering is and the different jobs that might be involved in that. We've had the Met Police come in. BT are looking at accessible apprenticeships and talking about how they make reasonable adjustments in the workplace. Department for Work and Pensions offer a package for the schools that supports our careers programme as well. So they come in for our careers days, interview days, etc. And they offer a wide range of support there. Other companies, BoxFit, we had NASA, Online STEM, Gatwick STEM. If we're doing an English project, we would try to get local authors to come in or potentially meet the students to talk about what their job entails and what it looks like to be an author and what aspects they wouldn't have really considered before. And Pod Meals will come in and support our hospitality group and talk about careers linked to different roles in hospitality. And then our impact and future goals. So it's really looking for that bespoke and positive outcomes for our learners, increasing their engagement and opportunities and aspirations moving forward. This is quite a new thing for us. As I said previously, 4 years ago, it was really focusing on becoming independent. Now it's really about their aspirations and trying to meet their needs. More learners, we've noticed, are now accessing employment. And we're going to make sure we focus on continued development of employer partnerships and refining our career strategy to support our students moving forward. It is quite difficult because it is ever changing, depending on the cohort of learners that we will have. But I think that's important as our cohorts change, that we need to be prepared for that. So one of the biggest changes for us, particularly this year, is the development of a pre-supported internship program, which is really encouraging those learners who are showing skills of being able to access work, giving them the external placements, the preparation and employability skills to be able to transfer to that environment, and making sure that they're actually really ready to be able to go on and pursue that area. And that is it from me.
Thanks, Peggy. Does anyone have any questions for Peggy about anything she's spoken about, anything she shared?
Sorry, I was just going to ask, you may have said this already, but is your the work experience that they're doing, like so the pre-supported internship, is that supported by staff going along?
Well, we're in a transition. So at the moment, it's the job coach element. So we would use our staff to be able to internally support that and then ease that approach. But moving forward, we're looking for the pre-supported supported internship, working with ECL, where they potentially could support us with the job coach element, and we provide the academic and improve in other areas as well. But that's very early stages, but it is the management of staff being able to support learners with their placements that is the biggest issue.
Thank you.
Perfect. Jules, I will hand over to you now.
Thanks. Am I good to share, Charlotte?
Yeah.
Grand. Hi everyone, I'm Jules. I think I know I'm very, very different in the role that I perform than Peggy. So I kind of work as I say part-time careers lead. That's not the case. I work full-time, but I'm given only a couple of hours a week to perform the role. So I guess my presentation is going to be slightly different to Peggy in that I'm not going to sort of tell you so much as what we do, because I think my presentation would have been pretty similar, I think, to Peggy, that we're trying to kind of achieve those same aims. But mine's more of an insight into kind of how I dual role manage and try and get our careers aspirations achieved through that dual role. So you can see there, I put the picture of the mountain because it does feel like a mountain to climb sometimes, in that mainly my role here at Thriftwood is that of an English teacher. So a great proportion of my time is taken up in that route. But let's tell you a bit about the college first. So just like Peggy, we're a STEM provision. We work over 2 sites. So I have to kind of co-manage careers with a through years years 6 through 9, and we are onwards from that years 10 through 13. We have some students in year 14 as well. So we offer, just like Endeavour School, a kind of really broad-based curriculum that is focused around maths and English, and we kind of create an enrichment program and an options program as well. In Key Stage 4, our students all do kind of a rolling rotation of options to give them a flavour, and then in Key Stage 5 they make choices regarding what potential transition they might want to make in the future, or what they enjoy doing as part of their Key Stage 5 programme. Our careers is kind of embedded in many aspects that I'll kind of run through in a minute. So if I just tell you a bit more about my role, like I said, my main role here is that of an English teacher, and I teach 8 hours of English a week. I also teach fitness here at college for 2 hours a week. I teach to our year 13s only careers. I'm also a tutor, which takes up 2 hours of time. I manage our fairly new work experience. We're just in year 2 of kind of work experience program, and I'm given 6 hours a week now to manage careers across this site, and working in tandem with a colleague over our school site. So that's kind of how my week is managed through hours. In terms of our curriculum, and you won't be able to see this, so again, Charlotte, I guess if we share our presentations with you, then you can send them out to everyone. We do have what I feel is a fairly new kind of look on our careers curriculum, our careers program. It's it was very broadly based around our PSHE curriculum to start, and it was very much kind of light touch embedded. So when I came, one of the first kind of goals that we had here was to make it very specific around students and transitions. And we've really done a lot of work to develop and broaden that scope, so that we now teach careers as a specific area in our PSHE sessions rather than a broad touch. And our year 12 and 13s, they get a much more bespoke and directed sort of careers-based lessons in years 12 and 13s to give them those kind of social and life skills, and then really look at transition processes through year 13 to help them visit college years and understand what it means to kind of move into the world of work. So through year 12, they get 1 hour a week of that kind of skill, and then into year 13, they get a specific hour around careers and 1 hour around those transition-based ideas as well. You know, we do many other things kind of considering careers in those kind of times too, but that's very specific. We've also just embedded this year an industry insights section into each of our curriculum areas. So each curriculum head was given an opportunity to develop half a term or so of lessons around careers that would be important in those given areas. So for instance, we teach photography as an option. So students have had visits from 2 photographers, and they've been out to a museum to see how photography is used there. So each curriculum area has been given that specific kind of role to embed careers within the curriculum in that respect. So how does it work here? I've got very good support from our SLT. And we've sat down and we thrashed out our strategic careers plan, which we felt kind of was really important for our learners to develop and move on. and we wanted to embed the work experience around that. But we've also started to look at how even in those core areas, careers is important. And we've started looking at different platforms that we can use to support those. One of which, and you've probably all use it because it's very simple and free. It's the MyPath platform. And they have got amazing videos that can really be embedded once every half term into lessons like English and maths, and they give really, really good career insights for different topics. So once every half term, we're using those just to kind of stimulate the understanding of this is what we're learning this half term, and this is how it might help you in a career. Like I said, communication with SLT. I've actually got an SLT lead for careers who I will sit down with once every couple of weeks to talk about ideas that we want to embed and how that's going to work with other development plans going along in the college. So everything kind of hopefully fits seamlessly. Doesn't quite work out like that at times, but that's the overriding plan. Communication is really, really important because I only get specific kind of hours per week. I really have to dedicate my time and say, right, I'm going to do this and this to do this. So it's really, really important for me to kind of be able to break down in that week or that half term and have specific it says, you know, sir, you haven't ticked that off yet, but you've done that, you know, you've put that down as your target, which is quite nice. So my pupils in my tutor group actually take some ownership of my careers curriculum as well. And one thing I found out, I dedicate at least an hour a week now to sit down, make phone calls and emails to parents with some of the things that we're trying to achieve so that they know what we're doing. We use Arbor. I'm sure many of you do as well. So at least one email or two emails per half term will go out to parents, kind of just to keep them informed of what we're trying to achieve and things that we've got on the horizon as well. I'm a massive user of Microsoft Forms. For instance, we've just completed our second block of work experience. Microsoft Forms went to all pupils and all parents, which is a really simple way of getting feedback. And actually, out of 26 parents, I've already had 22 parents reply. So, which I think is a pretty good return. And it's given me some really good insight of how I can kind of maintain the successes we've had in the first 2 years with our provision for our block work experience. And actually, it's allowed me to move on from that. We've now got 5 pupils out on extended work experience placements because of successes that they've had there. But it came from that Microsoft feedback form that's something that the parent would like to kind of explore, which was really useful for me. Lee says, what do I do well? Bit of celebration for myself. Communicate is my massive mantra. I don't think there's a teacher at the college that doesn't know what I'm doing that week or what I'm trying to achieve or what our pupils will be doing. And whether, you know, they get frustrated, I feel that I've achieved something by saying, this is what I'm aiming to do this week, or this is what I'd like to do this week, just so that everybody knows what I'm doing. Creative as well, although I've got, you know, my strategic plan in place, the programs in place that you've seen, you know, there is kind of freedom for using kind of different formats. And if I hear something, then I'll explore it. SLT, they're thankfully very kind of supportive of that. Balance, like I said, my week, it's very kind of heavy in terms of teaching. So I really have to look at the free time that I've got available and say, right, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to achieve. And just making sure that SLT know what I'm kind of aiming for that week so that they're aware what I'm trying to do. Asking for help is a massive, massive thing. And that's not just SLT, but that's colleagues as well. You know, I'm aware that I've got colleagues here that have got great contacts. And if I think of something or if something comes up that I know that somebody's got better ideas than I have, I'm not afraid to go and say, actually, tell me what you think about this, which is really useful. And lastly, like I said, feedback. I'm a massive Microsoft Forms user. And it's a really, really simple way of getting that feedback. And I've got kind of that folder ready for evidence as well. You know, if I'm asked what I'm doing, I can kind of say, well, I've done this and this is kind of the outcome. So that's me, really. I mean, very simply, we're trying to achieve very, very similar things, I think, to Peggy in terms of use of Duck2, you know, GCH and things like that. We've got very, very similar things going on. So I've given it a more kind of point of view from what I can achieve being a teacher and a careers lead. Is that okay? And any questions?
Hi, Joel. Sorry, quickly, just turn the camera on so I look more personal. There we go. I just quickly, would it be possible for you to share your Microsoft forms that you send to the parents?
Yeah.
I've got one I use, and I just wanted to see what you asked for, what we asked.
Yeah, no worries. What is that for? Work experience, mate?
Yeah. Just about work experience and careers in general, really. We send out one generalised, but yeah, if you've got one,
sure, no problems.
Some ideas. I'm always up for pinching somebody else's work and plagiarising it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Of course I will. Is there any other questions? Perfect.
Thanks, Jules.
Hey, no worries.
And last by no means least, I'm going to hand over to Peter now. There you go, Peter.
Thank you. Cheers. Jules, you mind stop sharing for a second?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do that, mate. I'm struggling for some reason.
Right.
It's not.
Don't worry,
it's
everybody. You'll be slightly disappointed. You could leave it up. You could leave it up because I actually don't have a PowerPoint, and anybody who knows me will probably know why.
Right, I'll tell you what, mate. I'll do that. Shall I?
Yeah, you can leave it on like that if you want. That's fabulous if you want. I haven't been really lucky. I've got to meet some of you recently. Some of you I've worked with for a long time. My name is Peter. I am the Careers and Transitions Leader at Shorefields Special Needs School. I'm also the Careers Advisor. Shorefields School, if any of you have not been or heard of us before, we are a PMLD and SLD school. We work less away from sort of key stage, more in strand. The schools work in 3 teaching strands, depending on the need of the students and the ability of the students. So it's a consistent learning approach throughout the school. So if they start, they might change strand, but it's most likely if they start in one of the strands, which is beach, sunshine, or pier, and they'll travel that strand all the way through from 3 years old right the way up to somebody else is sharing. Hello.
Sorry, Matt, I'm trying to stop sharing. Sorry, but
it's okay. Don't you worry. So they'll travel all the way up through. So that's how I work. So I am a level 6 careers advisor, and also did the level 6 careers leadership as a part of that qualification as well. And I was lucky I did it with Emily as well, which was really, really good. And while we were doing that that training, something really generated with myself there was, for our students, their outcomes are less around employment. It's unlikely they're going to go into employment, but that doesn't mean they don't have very full and very meaningful futures destinations to go to. And one thing we were taught while we were doing our level 6 was the word career does not automatically mean employment. And I think I sort of really held on to that when thinking of how I could make careers embedded within our school, make it meaningful. I've been doing it since about 2018. I think I've done okay so far. With careers, we looked at it more like somebody's pathway through life. And everybody has a career. Everybody, absolutely all my students, no matter what they're going on to do, we look at our students having a career, meaning it's their pathway, their progression, making sure it's meaningful, progressive, and hopefully as much as possible autonomous. So when I first started in role, I am a full-time careers leader. I spend every day, all day doing it. It's been really wonderful to be able to do that. I do sometimes feel, when I hear people like Jules saying he gets 2 hours a week, I sort of scratch my head and think, how on earth do people manage to do it? Because I'm busy all the time, Chelsea, and I can't see how. But I do a lot. I do run lots of things, and I do go out with students quite a bit. So while we were doing it, we thought to ourselves about what the outcomes of our students were and how can we improve it? How can we make sure those outcomes reflect those students' needs, their ambitions and hopes for the future, and their families? So I started off by looking at where our students are going and what are they doing after they leave school and what can we do to support that. And I found out that most of our students are going into a social care provision. And how those decisions were being made about where they were going didn't sit very comfortable with me at all. We were having like a good story. I was at an annual review, and a really good, well-meaning social worker was there taking notes about this young lady's future. And somebody said she likes being outside, and I saw her right straight away. Right, ECL Garden Centre. Now I know this young lady. She hates gardening. She loves being outside, hates gardening. And so I thought, if decisions about young people's futures are being made on that sort of evidence, we should be doing better. So one of the first things I did is I started a type of work experience program, which we call our provider program. This is what sees our year 13 and 14 students having the opportunity to go out and have prolonged experiences at local provisions. Like there'd be like one morning a week for the whole half term. From that, we hope to gauge feedback from the young person, feedback from the provision, and observations from the person who's supporting them. And it's always a member of staff from the school. If it's somebody who has a dedicated one-to-one, we have lots of students who have dedicated or two-to-ones. That's not so bad. For those students who don't have that, it's usually me going out with them. So I think I'm going out 3 or 4 mornings a week at the moment because I'm just trying to get all our year 13s out before the end of the year. And we make recordings of those. And then when time comes to start talking to social care, start talking to parents about opportunities for the future, we've actually got something plausible. And really like what the students have done and how they've experienced these different provisions, and it's going really, really well. I started off with 3 provisions. I now have 15, I believe, on my books, and that's going really, really well. And it's which I've been really, really lucky, is because I've been backed up by SLT and the governors. They've given me pretty much free range to do as much as I like with this, and it has worked really, really well. The provider program is probably my biggest piece of work, because setting it up, running it and maintaining it is something I do most of the time. I do all the individual risk assessments. I had to get a qualification in work safe environment, work placement personnel. I just read it because it's such a mouthful. I did that to make sure that I could do the health and safety visits to all the provisions that we go to, and make sure that they're all up to code before any of our students go to them. So that's a main kind of my work, although we have been doing lots of things. We do like to have a careers fair, although traditional careers fairs again wasn't suitable for our students. For the last few years I've been working with Emily and Jim. We've been running an event called SEND Forward. How many years have we been doing it now? Is that 3 we've had so far? I think, yeah, Emily's nodding at me. Yet 3. We've had 3, yeah, which we have. I think it's 5 of us now, 5 different local SEND schools, well, connected SEND schools, and Colchester Institute have just joined as well, where we all come together and we put on a transition event that is aimed at those students who are unlikely to go on to employment, but still have very, very meaningful futures ahead of them. So that's been very successful. We've had 3 of them. We're hoping to run 2 a year soon as well. So it's been great to have joined up working with them. I also attend all the post-16 reviews. I work very closely with the SEND careers advisors, which were the preparing for adulthood advisors that come in, and social care as well. I spend probably most of my time working with social care and supporting them as they help transition students onto future destinations. I also do transition planning meetings with parents, which is kind of more of a traditional careers interview with them. I do that in year 13 at the beginning or the end of year 13, going into year 14, to make sure that our parents, and that's one of the school's focuses, to make sure that not only our students feel that they are supported as they transition out of education, the parents do as well. Because I was finding that lots of our parents either worried excessively about it or buried their head in the sand. And in both ways, if they felt supported from quite much earlier on than that, but as long as they feel that they have their say and they've got somebody to go to, that was helping so much. So I do these transition planning meetings, and with their permission, I do share them with social care and the SEND careers advisors, which is a really good step in moving on forward, which is a massive bit of work. I also do careers interviews with our young people, which has been I do a different type of careers interview with them than maybe a traditional one would be. I've developed a piece of software that I use with them, so our non-verbal students have the opportunity to share their preferences. It's a little bit like the vocational profiling. However, this can be tailor-made to each student's needs and preferences, so they have an opportunity to share what they want, and it can be done over and over again to show that they have a cognitive ability to make decisions about their future, which is great. I'd love to share that with you one day. I did have a careers program written when I first started. I've recently changed it using the new CDI framework. I'd like everybody, if you get a chance, to have a look at that. Because we have the 3 strands, each careers program would look different for each strand. So I've written 3, well, there's actually 4 there. what I did was I felt that I was struggling to get, talking about some of the struggles I had in my role. One of them is getting buy-in from other staff, other teachers. They hear the word career and they feel it's not to do with our students, or it's not, our students don't need to do those things, but of course they do. So what I did is I made sure that our hub leads and our teachers were a part of creating those careers programs, so they could take ownership, because they could say what we do already to reach those elements within the framework. And that's gone really, really well. And they've actually sort of come up with more ideas, and they've, I say, taken ownership. They've been able to sort of add to it themselves as we've been going. It's one of those sort of live documents, which is going on really, really well. I know I'm rattling along, so sorry. So one of the things that we thought about our limitations, some of the struggles I have. One of my biggest limitations, one of my biggest frustrations I receive is having post-19 educational options for our young people. We really, really struggle to have, the majority of our students just simply don't reach the criteria to go on to what's available in the area. Colchester Institute, we have a couple of students maybe a year go there, but for the vast majority, they can't reach their needs. So the frustrating thing for myself is, although I feel our students could continue with their education and should continue their education post-19, there just isn't the infrastructure there, or isn't the place for them to go on to do. So the majority of them lose their EHCPs, although they could and should be carrying on their education. So that's one of my biggest gripes, to be honest with you. And the only other thing I wanted to touch on as well is, although we don't do a lot on employment, as in running careers, we do have a really, really successful careers week that I've been running for the last few years, which see some really, really great events going on. We have, well, right through Monday, we always do the careers boxes. I've got a big stack of careers boxes with different careers in each box, different sensory stuff in there and equipment in there, and each one has also got a sensory story attached to it as well, so the class can do the sensory story while the students explore the objects within the boxes. That goes down really well. On Tuesdays we have our vehicle day, where we have different vehicles coming to our playground which are attached to different jobs. This is really visual. Every student gets something out of it. The more able students speak to the drivers about their job and what they do, and the less able students, we have a great time using the fire hose, getting on the bus, usually beeping the horns. I think our neighbours absolutely hate us for the beeping of the horns. So vehicle days are a really big success. We have Little Cities come in for a couple of days, and we also have local provisions come in to give talks to our parents and our year 13s and 14s about their local provisions. So that week is taken up with different performing arts lessons. We have a wonderful lady, Katie, who does our sensory story. She's doing a career sensory story for us this year. So again, our careers looks very, very different than the last two speakers. However, that's how it manifests in our school, and it's been really successful with some really great outcomes for our young people and their families since we're adding all these things in. So I know I've rattled on, and I probably should have done a PowerPoint, but I just don't do them. So on that, I know I've given a million amounts of information, but if anybody's got any questions, great.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So yeah, just to sort of wrap up, if anyone does have any questions that they want to ask but that come up later on, please feel free to drop your enterprise coordinator an email. They can be forwarded on to me, and then I can reach out to the careers leaders that have spoken today. If Jules, Peggy and just Jules and Peggy can send your slides across, and I can share them with anybody that wants a copy of them, or if anybody wants to link up with any of the speakers, again, drop your enterprise coordinator an email, and I can get those links sorted. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and look, you're getting 4 minutes back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Charlotte.
Bye. Cheers. Thanks, Jules.
Peggy, I'm going to